Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and Creative Assembly have asked me to make this video showcasing a great clash between the Skaven, led by Lord Skrolk, and an army of the Empire just outside the city of Altdorf. Skrolk brings with him a massive rat horde over 2,000 strong. He has an assassin by his side, 4 units of Skaven slaves, 4 units of plague monks, 2 units of plague monk censer bearers, 2 units of storm vermin with halberds, 3 units of gutter runner slingers with poison, a hell pit abomination, a doom wheel, and a plague claw catapult. The forces of the Empire are led by a general alongside a light wizard, bringing 5 units of flagellants, 3 units of greatswords, 4 units of crossbowmen, a unit of demigryph knights with halberds, the Royal Altdorf Griffites, and 2 Hellstorm rocket batteries. As one can expect with artillery on the field, the aggression does start right away. These Hellstorm rocket batteries open fire right from the get-go to get some damage done into the Skaven horde, focusing in on the plague monks and the plague monk censer bearers to try and get rid of that anti-infantry and armor-piercing support right away. Meanwhile, the plague claw catapult does respond in kind, opening fire on that left flank unit of greatswords just to get rid of once again armor-piercing and anti-infantry capabilities. Meanwhile, on the far left, you will notice this unit of Royal Altdorf Griffites pushing forward to try and get a flanking maneuver in to that plague claw catapult to shut it down, while the assassin and the 2 units of gutter runner slingers with poison are also attempting a stalking flanking maneuver of their own. Meanwhile, the light wizard does creep forward to get a nice spell off to start the battle. We do have banishment go down in this massive clump of rats, taking care of a unit of Skaven slaves, as well as causing a decent bit of damage to the storm vermin with halberds, as well as this unit of plague monks. So a lot of hurt being dealt there by the light wizard before lines are even able to meet. Now, with that happening, you'll notice on the left flank, the Skaven slaves are able to close the gap relatively unhindered, but that range fire does come in. The crossbowmen opening shots off, getting a decent bit of hurt done to the one unit, while the hell pit abomination is spotted off to the side over here, so the demigryph knights with halberds are responding by pushing off to that right flank. Meanwhile, you'll notice we do have the greatswords as well, responding to the aggression on this left flank as they have been spotted stalking up, so we are pushing forward to shut them down, while in the center here, we do have the flagellants being hit by plague, and in response we do charge forward to try and avoid any damage, and mostly avoid it there, while on the right flank over here, the hell pit abomination does decide to charge in, but the demigryph knights with halberds are prepared for that incoming threat, stopped just before it's able to strike the flagellants, and the demigryph knights with halberds, anti-large, and armor-piercing are going to be able to take care of the hell pit abomination. Of course, we are providing some ranged assistance as well, as the crossbowmen all turn around to open shots off at the hell pit abomination to shut it down once and for all, while you'll notice on the right over here, these greatswords are creeping forward to attempt a flanking maneuver, and the General of the Empire is just about to respond to the aggression on that right flank as well, chase after some of these gutter runner slingers with poison, fly over towards them, but unfortunately on the left flank, the assassin is able to penetrate through these greatswords and is pushing into some of that range support of mine. Meanwhile, you'll notice in the center here, we do have the greatswords finally pushing forward to engage these storm vermin with halberds after the plague was taken care of, and meanwhile on the left flank, we have completely devastated these Skaven slaves with a large number of flagellants. Unfortunately, Pestilent Breath does come in and cause a devastating amount of damage to one of those units, while the assassin is still able to close this gap over here despite all the range fire coming in. You'll notice the General of the Empire is barely able to close the gap to these gutter runner slingers with poison, and is forced to turn around, activates Foe Seeker to close the gap once again this way now to shut the assassin down, as it does cause damage and disruption in the rear lines. Meanwhile, up front here, you'll see the Doom Wheel has gotten involved, pushing into these flagellants, doing a decent bit of damage, and as the hell pit abomination is scared off the field, the crossbowmen are able to turn around and focus now on the Doom Wheel instead to try and shut it down once and for all. You'll notice the General of the Empire is doing a decent bit of hurt to the assassin, and meanwhile Skrolk has gotten involved, fighting these flagellants, doing a decent bit of damage there, causing a fair bit of pain, and using stand your ground to keep his own melee defense and leadership up. While off in the distance, you'll see we have completely taken care of the plague claw catapult a while ago, and these Royal Altdorf Griffites now just chasing around the rear lines, trying to shut down various units wherever possible. The Doom Wheel up front as well shut down pretty quickly between the flagellants, the demigryph knights with halberds, and all of that range support. The Doom Wheel does not stand a chance of very quickly falling apart, while in the center here you'll see Skrolk does use Bless with Filth to provide some assistance to his troops and spread some poison to my units here, damage their attributes and take them down, but the General of the Empire does get involved against Lord Skrolk, trying to shut him down and take care of enemy leadership once and for all. Meanwhile, you'll see another banishment going down from the light wizard here, chasing after these routing units, hoping they will not return as these greatswords as well, trying to close the gap. Unfortunately, that banishment not as powerful as the first one, doing very little, so these greatswords do turn their attention elsewhere, chasing after these plague monk censer bearers as these flagellants close the gap to these 2 routing units, trying to force them off the field so they're not able to return later. Meanwhile, you'll see Skrolk as well now terrified off the field, with the General of the Empire nearby, Light Wizard giving chase, and the Assassin as well terrified off the field, and my 2 Hellstorm rocket battery units continuing fire, continuing to provide assistance in the long range here, causing some damage to these various units, trying to prevent the return. You'll notice that the hell pit abomination has decided to rejoin the fight, fighting against the Royal Altdorf Gryphites would have done well had it not been for these other Skaven units surrounding them. You will see, though, the Greatswords come here in response, trying to provide some assistance, and the rocket barrages now causing a little bit of friendly fire, but necessary losses for the greater good. You'll see the Hellpit Abomination very low on health, very close to dying, and meanwhile back here we do have the Crossbowmen ever so confidently creeping forward, taking care of various Skaven units as they close the gaps. Meanwhile back here the Light Wizard is engaged with Lord Skrulk, trying to take care of that pest once and for all as the General of the Empire dives in and tosses Lord Skrulk back. Meanwhile you'll see the Crossbowmen ever so confidently continue their push forward, now aiming to take care of the Hellpit Abomination once and for all, putting my Greatswords in a very precarious situation. They're surrounded by a lot of dangerous units, including that Hellpit Abomination, and you'll see they are terrified now because of that A-bomb. But all that range fire coming in, doing a lot of damage to the Hellpit. You'll see it is taking a decent bit of hurt, and very soon it is going to fall apart to all that range fire, morale dropping, health dropping, and down it goes. But unfortunately, out from its belly pop these Skaven Slaves with spears. So another unit I do have to deal with, not a very high tier unit, but just another unit of Skaven I have to work with now. Meanwhile, all the way back here, you'll see these Flagellants completely surrounded by the Stormvermin with Halberds and the Plague Monks very quickly being taken care of, while off in the distance here, my Flagellants giving chase to some of these Gutter Runner Slingers with poison and eating a lot of damage while doing so. Back here, though, you'll see Lord Skrulk has been largely taken care of, the Light Wizard doing a lot of damage there, taking care of him, doing a lot of hurt, trying to make sure that the Skaven do not return to Altdorf ever again, while the General of the Empire, creeping forward, notices the assassin who was stalking just moments ago, decides to dive in to try and get rid of him, remove him from the field. Meanwhile, you'll notice I do have my crossbows turning around to try and open shots off at these Plague Monk Sensor Bears as they're chasing this other unit of crossbows, so in just a moment's time they will turn around to open shots off, but down here, Skrulk has begun to rout, and in just a moment's time he will completely shatter, and as a result, the Skaven do lose their will to fight, their leader has given up, they're tucking tail and running, and thus, a Pyrrhic victory for the Empire. Now this was a chaotic battle with many losses on both sides of the field, but at the end of the day, the Vermintide was held back. This isn't the first time Skrulk has dealt with the Empire, and it most certainly won't be the last. While he returns to the Council of 13 with news of failure, the Empire must prepare itself for the inevitable return. Thank you guys very much for watching, and remember, Mortal Empires is just around the corner. Make sure you subscribe to the Total War YouTube channel to stay up to date.